This is live from Greeley, Colorado, the day before Thanksgiving. If you're in the U.S., that means a little more, I suppose. And I'm doing this event because, in large part, I hit 50,000 subscribers this morning. And I thought, how fun would it be to celebrate 50,000 subs and do a little Q&A. And the topic for the day is mixed voice, but I'll take questions, anywhere for any question, really. And while people are kind of coming in and realizing that we're actually live, I'll give a little history or story. I started with the channel back in February of 2019. It was something that I'd wanted to do for many years, but I don't feel like I had quite the right focus, or I don't know. But I had been teaching guitar online for a long time, and I thought, I've never taken my voice teaching to the internet. I've taught voice, but I'd only done guitar on the internet. In the way that I'm doing it now. I started to do different lessons in guitar and recording, and then midsummer I decided, okay, I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to do voice pretty much only, and the whole channel is going to be centered around voice. And that's really when the interest started picking up, and that's when I started having more fun too. Let's see, getting some questions here. Tips for vibrato exercises. Yes, I can do that. We had a request to do some different, some Claudio Sanchez from Coheed and Cambria. How to do voice cracks like John Mayer. Oh, using your vocal brick. Oh, these are cool questions. Okay, I'll see if I can keep up on some of these things. Let's work with... Patrick had asked about Claudio. I've actually been wanting to do a video on Claudio, a dedicated video, like I've done some of the other videos in the style of Chris Cornell, or those sorts of things that I've done. And so I will probably do that for Claudio at some point. But here's the short answer. Claudio uses a sophisticated and bright and somewhat thin mix with a really developed vibrato. And so this is right on topic with our Q&A, right? So what you want to be able to do before you really try to sing some of the pitches that Claudio sings is dial in your speech voice like he sings. And I've covered this with other artists as well. So if I'm gonna get super bright like this. Now, even when he's singing low, he's kind of bright, but then I'm gonna go higher and higher and higher. I'm not gonna worry about pitch in terms of singing a particular pitch, but I want to get to the point to where I can speak like this. Hey! This is a derivative of what I've covered on the channel in how to start to sing like Chris Cornell, or how to sing like Freddie Mercury. Some of my other mixed voice tutorials on YouTube, I've talked about this, where we are, and how to get there is with the dying cat. That's not falsetto or head voice, pure head voice. It's not chest particular, it's something in between. As soon as you're able to talk like that, work on centering on different pitches with that feel. Don't worry about how it sounds. We're not trying to sound like Claudio Sanchez. We're trying to get a similar feel so that we can start to put some of what he does in our voice. And then we kind of go a little bit further towards singing. Move it around. And we keep, now, when he gets down closer to his normal chest resonance, he employs, a lot of times he's got that vibrato that he is kind of squeaky sounding. where he's throwing his voice up slightly into a more pure head resonance to get that vibrato. And that goes into the next question, or one of the next questions that I had about vibrato. I have done a tutorial on vibrato on YouTube. So a lot of these questions, so that you can get more information after I've talked about it a little bit in this Q&A, so I can get as many questions answered as possible, I will mention a video so that you can kind of go that way and check it out on the channel and take it deeper. But what I talk about in the vibrato tutorial is this idea of using a ghost sound. Ooh, starting quiet. Ooh, ooh, ew. Emerson Liepe asks, how do you get your voice to wobble so quickly? It's the ghost, my son. Channel your inner ghost. That's the start to vibrato. Now, when we're doing this ghost, we're not harnessing the ghost here. We're supporting from here, but we are actually rocking our vocal mechanism back and forth. So we don't want to do this. It's not a belly laugh or a variant of a belly laugh. It's here. Constant support and then rock. You shouldn't feel your diaphragm or your stomach muscles doing this at all. That's the wrong tense way to do it. And it just involves too much of your body. You've heard people probably do vibrato like that, and it really doesn't fly. So that's the way to start doing vibrato. Again, I've got another lesson on YouTube on vibrato. I've done it recently. Let me get caught up. Lots of people are joining us now. Great. Let's see here. I'm going to get caught up with a few more questions here. So when I sing in my chest voice and begin swapping to head voice, there is a point where my voice cracks a lot. Any better way to transition or strengthen that part? Joshua Devil. So really what he's asking how to do is blend your break. And I've covered this in some of my mixed voice videos, but here's a quick tip for that. What he's talking about is he'll be in his chest voice and singing, oh, and then he gets to a certain point where his chest voice taps out. Grab my guitar. It's always more fun with an instrument. Voice taps out. When trying to go through to your head voice. So there's two ways to approach this. We can approach this as a mix, right? Like we want to go, oh! Or we can unapologetically go into head voice and smooth that break. I'm going to talk about the second one. Oh, we want to go from there, which is a G, to a B. We want to go into pure head voice, but we might sense a break, but we don't want to hear the break. Oh, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go full into my chest. Oh, belting. Feel that resonance in the front of your mouth. Oh, and then right before I switch up to my B note, oh, I'm going to bring the volume way back and then push up into it. Oh! Now, when I'm doing this in a more musical context, oh! You don't hear the oh! You don't hear that because you're moderating airflow to get through that break. And, you know, I've done a video on this particular line. Oh, I've waited for, head voice, waited for. It's about getting the airflow and the timing of the airflow right so that you can disguise that transition. The other way is with a true mix. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more questions about mix, since I titled the Q&A that, as we move on. But here's the beginning way to start accessing your mix. This is the way that I started to access it. And it was through listening to Chris Cornell live. And then some guy who wrote an article said he sounded like a dying cat live. And I went, huh. And I kind of put those two and two things together. I guess that guy didn't like how he sounded. I've done a video on that on the channel as well. Many of you have probably seen it. But if I can sing like a dying cat, let's take those same pitches. Now, I'm getting up to that pitch. I was previously breaking in between the pitch. One was definitely a head resonance and one was definitely a chest resonance. And you can hear the break. But if I harness the sound of the dying cat and do those same pitches, I no longer have a break. The key to making it musical is moderating that sound, because that's an ugly sound, right? That doesn't sound great. But if we can tame it, get that feel in our voices. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go to more questions. I'm not going to be able to hit all these questions. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all of your... So if I miss some, I'm sorry. You can feel free to ask it again. Great interaction. This is awesome. Samuel asks, how do you make mix more stable and less shaky, except making it louder? I will address the how do you make it more shaky? I want to address this one real quick because it's real. Could I make playlists covering techniques? I have started to make playlists. Justin McKinnon asks. I have started to make playlists, and and I just started that not even a month ago. So check back on the channel. I have different playlists designed for covers, technique, mindset, tips and tricks, stuff like that. And as the channel grows, I'm absolutely going to be organizing things that way. Let's see here. More stable. How do you make your mixed voice more stable? So we just talked about the dying cat, right? And how important the dying cat is to discovering the mixed voice. But what I did is I blended the dying cat with my own voice. The key to making mixed voice more stable is support. And I know that this sounds like a cop-out, but it's really not. You have to figure out how your support works. And many of you have probably already signed up for it, but I have a free, I'm looking at the wrong camera. I have a free voice course that goes over how to dial in that support in a way that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily think to do. You can find that by clicking the link below on any of my YouTube videos. It just says free voice lessons. Click there. And I'll send you that free course over a period of 3 or 4 days. And let me demonstrate a bit more what that looks like, though, once you add support, more support, to your mix. So we've already discussed the idea of... Now, if I'm pushing using my poop muscles, right? I'm thinking down as I'm channeling power up. I am going to let the sound come through. I'm going to open up, sing with an open throat. Whoa! Whoa! I'm not going to go for particular grit right now. I'm just going to see how powerful I can make it. Whoa! 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 And then I'm going to employ something I talked about in my Jeff Buckley sound-alike, or not sound-alike, not that. We're not trying to sound like Jeff Buckley. We're trying to sing like Jeff. Anyway, in the video I did on Jeff Buckley, I talk about this crazy clown laugh. Now, when we're doing the crazy clown laugh, we are teetering in and out of pure head and mix. If you can do a crazy clown laugh, you can go from pure head and mix. That sound that goes up, we're feeling what it's like to go between mix and pure head. This is really neat. We're actually transferring resonances. So if we combine crazy clown with dying cat, and then we hone in on the pitch after a while. You have to get these sounds down before you try to hit pitch. Otherwise, you just end up developing tension and you get frustrated and you can't do it. The other key is we want to choose pitches that are right outside our comfortable chest voice. So for me, that's, G would be a good chest note. A, I'm mixing a little. B, C, C sharp, D, How often am I going to do these Q&As? Oh, I don't know. I'm doing this Q&A because I'm celebrating 50,000 subs. I hit 50,000 subs on YouTube just today. Have you ever toured as a singer? Do you have any advice on how to maintain a good vocal performance? Marcus asks, I have never toured. I have gigged, and I have gigged regularly. And I also have a friend I actually want to bring in on the channel. He is touring now. One of these days I'm going to get him on the channel and we're going to have a conversation about touring because he's got a lot of valuable information. He tours for a heavy band called Random Hero. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. I bet you have. They're getting bigger and bigger. I think they were just signed to Sony, which is awesome. So you'll probably be hearing more and more about them if you haven't heard of them. But some advice on maintaining vocal health while you're using your voice a lot. I have talked about that on my channel. One of the main things I'll say, and I've said this in a few different videos, there's a lot more. I mean, when you're singing for a couple hours a night, or every other night, that's one thing. And then the other thing is what you do with your voice in between the singing. And oftentimes, and I've heard other people say this too, oftentimes what you do in between can be more important, not more important, but as important at least, as when you're singing. Are you using range-filled dynamic speaking? Now, when I'm talking to you now, I'm not talking to you like this. I'm also not talking to you like this the whole time. I'm not just down here and kind of one pitch saying. That screws up your voice faster than almost anything else. Same with shouting in like a loud restaurant. Make sure that you're not doing those things. Now, the video that I did on Whitney Houston really talks about a great way to be in tune with your voice. Make sure that you're only going as far as you know your voice can go for a particular event or particular night. And what I mean by that is, if you listen to a lot of singers live, all my favorite singers that I've ever seen live, they don't output like they do in the studio. It's a very different thing. You want to develop what's called your saving mode, where you're still able to give a good performance. You're still able to do things that excite the audience and that make you feel great as a singer and that sound good, but you're strategically dialing back. If you want to see examples of this, watch my video on the live cover I did on my last Q&A on Like a Stone by Chris Cornell. I employ this vocal saving mode while I'm doing that, and I talk you through that. Great video to watch when you are wanting to learn about how to project and how to be effective as a vocalist live. How do we use our vocal break to our advantage? Bandito asks. This is one of my favorite. There's a lot of ways to use your vocal break to your advantage. And one of those, how to scream and use your voice aggressively without trashing your voice, where you can get that really awesome scream out of your voice. That's one way to use your break. I'm not going to go into that right now. I just did another video, a follow-up video to that. I just filmed it today. So you can actually use your vocal break to scream well without hurting your voice. Another way that I love to do it, and I covered this a little bit earlier, is choosing two notes. So my guitar is sort of out of tune. That was a little better. Choosing two notes and massaging in between. So a fifth is a good interval. Let's go to or let's do a sixth. Reverse arpeggios. What I'm doing is I'm practicing getting familiar with where my voice breaks at different volumes, and then using that moderated airflow I talked about earlier. Having command over your dynamics and being able to do things in a way that you're always aware of where that break is, and instead of fighting it, you embrace it. And I'm demonstrating how to do that right now. I'm making no bones about the fact I'm hitting those in head voice, right? So the way to really get the most out of your break is when you sing, embrace the implications of it. I did a video on this also. I'm really not trying to throw any question out the window too soon, but I did a dedicated video on this on the channel as well. It's called How to Love Your Break. And I go through more examples of just this. Yeah, raspy belting used for Jesus Christ Pose by Soundgarden. Practicing head voice first, then add volume. Yes. XS Captain got it exactly. So let's see here. D. I'll break down that actual line. And you stare at me in your Jesus Christ pose. Now, when I'm doing that high note that's just pretty much pure head. And you stare at me. I'm acknowledging where my break is. Stare at me. Adding that grit to my chest. Now I'm going to mix up to that. And you stare at me in your Jesus Christ pose. Now adding grit to my lower notes helps me almost mask the thinness of that top note. And you can hear Cornell doing this, especially live, but even on the studio recording. And you stare out here, and you stare at me in your Jesus Christ pose. Arms and shroud like you've been carrying a load. There you go. That's the approach that I take when I'm singing a note like that, or singing a line like that. Great line. I'm seeing quite a few about Cookie Monster. I know people who do have a Cookie Monster sound. I don't do Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster. No. Cookie Monster. It's actually, Cookie Monster will kill you. Because you're not using the right vocal mechanisms to get that sound. You can talk in it, but if you try to get real loud with that, your vocal cords are going to turn into hamburger. There's a better way to do that. Well, there's two different ways to get that extreme distortion. So when I'll cover the break one first, which I just did a video on this earlier today, and I've done other videos on this on the channel. But if I'm going to go in chest and then right when my voice starts to break, this is another great way to use your break. You start, and you feel yourself starting to break up. Then you harness that period between those two. One is, your head voice, and the other is chest voice. You start to break like that, and you hear that little bit of grit in there. Then you focus on that, but you do it higher. Like that. I'll slow that down a little bit. That's how I do it, and it doesn't hurt my voice. The other way to work on this, and this is in part how Corey Taylor will do his screams. This is one way. The other way is to go at it from the other way, which is and you've probably seen other people talk about this, the frustrated thing. So one of them is you're breaking by pushing up to the limit of your range of your chest voice. Like that. And the other one is lower. It feels like it's coming from lower, but neither one is Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster is not cool. So if you, just making sure that, okay. So if I go the frustrated route, I don't want to do any more chores. That's the other way to do it. And that does not turn your vocal cords into hamburger. So practice making frustrated sounds, practice making terrible broken sounds at the top of your chest voice resonance, and that'll help you dial in those Corey Taylor, even Chris Cornell does some of that. Let's see here. I think there was a question earlier about, is this going to be archived so that you can watch it later? Yes, I'm going to put it up as a video on the channel so people can watch it as much times as they want to. I believe the correct way to say that would be as many times as they want to. Why do I lose my mix after singing a while? It just turns into a fry. Well, a lot of this stems from the tiredness, losing your mix, losing your range, if you're losing your mix, you're losing the feel of proper support. That's really the essence of it. When your vocal cords are becoming tired due to tension that you've unconsciously introduced, and you're continuing to not drive your singing from your lower diaphragm, and instead you are you're using these muscles, and you get this fatigue, and then it's kind of like, here's a really good analogy. If you go and you lift, let's say you lift something heavy, pretend this is really heavy, and you're doing this with the idea that you're trying to work out your bicep. You're doing that a long time. You start to feel it in your bicep, but after a while, you start to notice, my forearm is hurting, my wrist is hurting. By working out my bicep and by squeezing the water bottle too hard, I have started to introduce fatigue in the area that's actually holding the water bottle. I don't really want to work out the area that's holding the water bottle. I only care about my bicep. It's a similar issue, especially with mixed voice. We are putting too much emphasis on the wrong muscles when we sing, and so this stuff starts to get tired, maybe even before our bicep gets tired. And there's all sorts of other analogies there. But when you're working on mixed voice, when you're working on singing aggressively and high, I'm singing high, I'm singing high. Whoa, yeah. When I'm doing that, I feel a huge sense of pressure and not tenseness, but intenseness, as if I'm doing an abdominal workout. By centering my mind's energy on this area, I am freeing up tension here. And by doing that over time, I could probably do this for a few hours and not get too tired. I'm not going to do it for a few hours because I've already filmed a lot today. But we want to hone in on the energy we're getting from our lower support muscles. Captain, Corey Taylor uses false chord screaming. Yes, the two things that I just talked about, that right there, and that, both of those are false chord. And it's a mechanism slightly above your actual vocal cords. And if you see, they're doing that and letting your vocal cords produce sound that does not sound like that. And that's what Corey Taylor does. That's how he is he's just really good at it. But it's the same technique. I'm starting to record myself singing. Any advice on how to make my voice tone a little less bright and a little dark, baritone-like? Oh, thank you, Motherload. Motherload asks this. Oh, I lost that one. Okay. Less bright, I think he said. So I did a video on this on the channel, and when you're recording, this is really good stuff. When you're recording, you can get an extra sense for how your voice sounds, because it's coming back to you as opposed to you making the sound and reacting as it's coming out of your voice or coming out of your face. But doing this with a microphone, I'll put on my headphones so I can hear myself. Yeah. So I can hear myself in the mic. I'm going to exercise my full range of tone control by moving my larynx up and down, moving the back of my tongue. I'm thinking about the back of my tongue and my soft palate. My soft palate is here, a yawn. My soft palate is high, and the back of my tongue is low. And you can take your tongue, and you can move it back there to the tip of your tongue, and you can feel it. This is darker.
And that's brighter. That's got that twang.
That's where you get that,
where do we go? Where do we go?
That, sort of a Axl Rose sort of thing. Or the dark, baritone. Ave Maria. That is all moderated by understanding the extremes that I can take my voice to, and then sitting in areas where I want to for the desired effect. But I have to know the extremes in my voice before I can really go that direction. The other thing is, and I struggle with this, I have a lot of skin on my face, and it gets in the way of, and you can probably hear this, if I'm doing this, I get out of the way, versus get out of the way, get out of the way. Just moving my lips up and exposing my teeth in the midst of moderating my tone control with the back of my tongue and soft palate, it makes it more clear and it jumps out to my mic much better. You can hear it. You can hear the difference. Get out of the way, get out of the way. You're welcome for the content. How do we find our own sound? Why do you always feel like you're imitating someone? Your voice varies. I've been struggling with this for so long. Dae Soo asks this. I did a video on this as well on the channel. How to find your own voice. The best way, and I'll summarize this, and you can find it more on the channel later, but I'll summarize this. The best way to find your own voice is to make your own song. And what I did on the channel is I used the example of a jingle, just saying something stupid. I just did it, right? Get out of the way. I'm not thinking of any particular artist. It's just let's go. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. out of the way. Take a phrase and sing it, but because you're not singing other people's songs, you get more in tune with what your voice will naturally do. That's the very truncated version of the YouTube video that I did on that subject. Great questions. This is so much fun. How do you really register you are hitting a note? Always feel like I'm skirting around the desired pitch, but never hitting it. Huh. Now, when it comes to hitting a note, you're targeting a note. There's so many things that go into it, right? Like, how are you approaching that note? Are you approaching it in a mix? Is it a head voice note? Is it a chest voice note? Is it, what vowel are you using? There's all these things that go into it. One of the things that, and I cover this in my free vocal course, actually. We want to, when you're trying to hit a pitch, the best way to hit that pitch is actually to not hit the pitch. And I introduced this concept in my Trick Yourself into Singing Higher video that is on YouTube. Many of you have probably seen this. That's the best way to target pitch. We're oftentimes when we're trying to when we're skirting around a pitch or we're trying to hit a pitch and we can't do it, it's because we are too invested in it and we have all sorts of tension that is creeping in and our mind is working against ourselves. So if we have this ability to in our speech voice, I just did it. Our speech voice, that's a high note. Speech, la, 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 F sharp. But I could go way higher. Way. That's an E. Way. Now, I didn't try to hit that E. And when I just tried to hit it again, because I knew it was an E, oh, that's high. Way. I was a little more tense. But when I just go, I can go way higher. That's the kind of thing we want to do. We want to get into the habit of range-filled speaking so that these placements, the way that we've placed our muscles and then the way we project, isn't so foreign and it becomes more effortless because we're already doing it effortlessly when we talk. Effortlessly when we talk. Why do some people believe that someone is born with good singing Why do some people believe that someone born with good singing or natural, whatever they call it, sound ignorant to the knowledge behind the skill? I'm going to address this from what I think you're saying. And I've gotten comments on YouTube like this, and it makes me sad when I get comments like this on YouTube. They'll say stuff like, well, nobody can ever sing like so-and-so, which is true. I mean, we all have our own voice, but their connotation, their context is, nobody, well, I can't sing like that person. You can't sing. Nobody can. So I'm not even going to try. That's sort of the subtext I get out of it. And what they're saying, they're kind of saying that same thing. Like, oh, I've got, this person sounds so good, but he was born with natural ability. And so let's not even learn from him. Now, this is the enemy of improving. I mean, if you took this to any other instrument, you'd sound like an idiot saying it, right? Like, Eric Clapton, nobody could ever, he has a lot of natural ability, so that's why my guitar playing is no good. Well, I don't know. Why would you stop there? So Eric Clapton's a better guitar player than you. Well, he's also got soul and life experience and has had all sorts of cool gigging opportunities and stuff like that. Why don't you go out and do some of the same things that Eric Clapton does? Study Eric Clapton, study how he plays, learn some of his licks, go gig, go do some of the things that he's done, and you won't be Eric Clapton in your guitar playing, but you'll be better than you are now. You'll be inspired by them. So it makes me sad when people say that, well, people are born with natural ability, so because some people are born with natural ability and some people aren't, I want to sing, but I can't because I have no natural ability. Don't do that to yourself. Use other people's singing as inspiration, as ways to as ways to imprint certain aspects of singing. And you might not do it well, but that's okay. Throw off the inhibitions. Stop caring about what other people think. Stop thinking about what you think, and just sing. Just sing. And see what happens. All the best singers, all the singers that you and I, that's how they started. They didn't start by comparing themselves to other people. They didn't start by saying, well, that person has natural ability and I have no natural ability. They didn't do that. They just started making noise like I'm doing on this, like I do with all my YouTube videos, like I do when I get up in front of people and sing. There's this sense of, all right, let's go. Okay. Oh. You know, there's a sense of that every time I get up to sing. There's this character that comes out. Yeah. Fry screaming, cartilage screaming. I've done several videos on how to get distortion and grit, fry screaming, and how to do it safely. Check out pain-free distortion. I think that's what I called it. How to sing aggressively without killing your voice. Then another one that says mixed voice and distortion equals, or minus pain equals yes. I've done a few on there. Should my distorted notes... I've done a video on this. Jonas asks, should my distorted notes be making my clean notes harder to sing completely clean after heavy distort in one session? I did a video on that as well, and it's called After Screaming, Clean Up Your Voice. And definitely check that video out. That's a very important video. A very important video. The answer is no. It should not be more difficult to go clean after you have gone gritty, but you have to practice it in the same session. It's this arc. It's like you're warming up and you're singing, you know, low and you want to be able to do that arc as you practice. How do I do a mix? Juan asks, how do I do a mix like Sebastian Bach or Axl Rose? I just filmed a video today on Axl Rose and another cool singer that is thrown in the mix with that. And that'll be out in a couple weeks. But I'll give you a little preview. Start by a honking sound. Ah! Ah! Child of mine! There's some good Axl. Do I have a call line? Ooh, that would be cool. I don't have a call line. That would be a good idea. How long is my warm-up before singing live or recording? It's about 20 minutes. Should my fry screams feel more like chest or falsetto? They should actually feel well, that's an interesting question. I've never thought about it quite that way. I think that they don't really feel like either. They should feel like mixed voice. Because you've got this resonance that is happening in your chest. It's not, you don't feel the pressure in your throat either, but you've also got this sense that something's happening in your upper head. How do you know you're singing with proper compression? Great question. Proper compression, I did a video on that on the channel. It has green, sort of Christmassy colors on it. I would watch that video. There's a lot on compression, but the basic fundamental technique of compression is the idea of lifting something heavy and holding back air and then applying that to your singing voice. But I do a lot more with that in the video. And let me demonstrate how that works singing-wise. Hey, wide open, compressed, really compressed, same note. Yeah. But there's all sorts of middle of the road things you can do with that. Miles Kennedy is awesome at this. And even low. When I'm singing with compression, it allows me to be a little more airy, a little more gritty at lower pitches versus lower pitches. That's really lower pitches. They both sound kind of cool. Oh, you're welcome for making the Chris Cornell videos. My all-time favorite singer. What's my experience with an opera sound? Oh! That is the extent of my experience with an opera sound. Yes, you've read somewhere that it is possible to reach mixed voice using fry. And they didn't mean aggressive singing. They meant actual clean mixed voice. The feel is similar. So if you're doing fry, and then we go up to fry, and we practice rocking our voice box back and forth. That one, the brighter fry, and I'm going super quiet here. That vocal positioning is the one right there, and it involves compression. They all kind of go together. Compression with fry, or it feels like it's more back this way and less this way. That one right there. It's the same vocal positioning. It's about combining that with your support. I am definitely going to do more of these. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being a part of it and celebrating the 50,000 YouTube subscriber mark. Be sure to join my free vocal course. Keep up with me on YouTube. Have fun discovering new ways to sing, new sounds to get, new feelings to get as you explore your voice. Teaching voice lessons like this is one of my favorite things to do. I can't believe I get to do this. I look forward to working with and meeting more of you online. We'll see you for more real soon.